So let me just start off by saying that I am sorry for the bad angle and the bad lighting, but I have ordered a ring light and tripod and I'm just waiting for it to arrive. Let me just sort the angle out a bit better. So I'm actually in a different location today. I'm downstairs at my dining room table just because I thought I would change it up a little bit. So this video is going to be a long-awaited March reading wrap-up. Now, you're probably thinking, why are you even bothering now? It's the 15th of April. However, I did lose quite a lot of motivation with my YouTube channel, and I feel like when you're trying to grow your YouTube channel and your social media, sometimes it can get a bit disheartening if you're not getting as many views and followers and everything like that. However, I have told myself not to give up and to keep going. So that is exactly what I'm doing. And this is a March reading wrap up, like I said. If you can see my kitten here, she is actually sat in the window. I don't know why she's actually staring, but yeah, she's sat in the window. So anyway, without further ado, I'm going to get on with the reading wrap up. Okay, so I've adjusted the camera angle a tiny little bit, but I have got my handy reading journal here. Well, one of them anyways. Sorry, the kitten is knocking my things everywhere, aren't you? I've got my reading journal here, one of them, because some of these books I read quite a while ago, so I just thought it would be handy to have this so I can see what I rated them and everything like that. So, without further ado, I'm going to be starting with the first book that I read in the month of March, which was actually The Vampire Diaries Midnight. Now, I am a huge fan of The Vampire Diaries. I love the TV show, I love the characters, I love everything about it. However, the books are very different, very, very different. Now, some of the same characters are in the books, however, they have different names, and they have different characteristics and things like that. However, I do understand, because obviously you can't cast the exact same people, but I just think that they are so... The kitten is now trying to drink my cup of tea. However, I do think that they are just so very different. Even the plot and everything, I don't know. However, I am enjoying the series, but I have taken a bit of a break and I haven't read them for a while. So anyways, this one I did actually rate. The kitten is really annoying me, everyone. This one I did actually rate 4 stars because it was good. I think it's been one of the favourite ones that I've read in the series so far. And I did really like it. However, it wasn't 5 stars because it wasn't the best book I've ever read. I have read better. However, this was a good one to start the month off with. So, the next one that I read was Wilder by Rebecca Yarros, and I loved this book. This was 5 stars. It was sports romance, and it is actually the first in the Renegade series, which I didn't know when I picked this up, but I am so happy that it's a series because I cannot wait to read more of them. I loved everything about it. It was amazing. It was set on a cruise ship. It was giving summer vibes, sports vibes, adrenaline vibes, everything like that. So this was one of my favourite ones that I read in March. So after Wilder, I decided to start the Sugar Lake series, and I read the first book, which was Beneath the Stars. Now, this series is by Emily McIntyre, and I was umming and ahhing a while ago about whether to read I can't remember what it's called. Is it called the Never After series? However, I do know that they are Disney retellings, and while I do like some Disney films and things, I'm not a massive Disney fan, so I don't think I'm going to read that series. However, I loved the Sugar Lake series. This one was the first one in the series, and I read it within about 2 days. I loved everything. I loved the plot, I loved the characters, I loved the story. It was amazing. This I rated 5 stars and I do not regret it, and I'm looking forward to rereading this series very soon. So after Beneath the Stars, I then read Beneath the Stands, which is the second book in the Sugar Lake series. And even though they are a series, they are interconnected standalones. So this one is about Alina and Chase, and then this one is about Alina's brother and best friend. So this one was about Elliot and Becca. Now, this one was a bit more of a sports romance because Elliot is actually a basketball coach, whereas this one wasn't sports romance. So I did love this one. This one was also 5 stars, and again, I just loved everything about this book. Now, thinking back, I do think I probably preferred the first one to the second one. However, the second one still got 5 stars and it was definitely deserved. I love this series with my whole heart. Now, after that, it was a bit negative because I did actually read one of my library books, which is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. Now, I read this for the Rory Gilmore reading challenge that I'm trying to complete, and I DNF'd it at, I think, chapter 5 because I don't know, it just was not for me at all. I didn't like it, and I just think it had no plot whatsoever. I mean, that could be because I didn't actually finish it, but life is too short to read a book that you don't like. So yeah, unfortunately, that was a DNF. I did give it 1 star because that is the lowest rating I can give when it's a DNF. And yeah, I don't think I will be reading this anytime soon whatsoever. Then the month sort of picked up again reading-wise, and I moved on to The Enemy by Sarah Adams. Now, I love Sarah Adams' books. I have read quite a few now, and this was 3 stars because, I don't know, it was a light-hearted comedy romance. However, it didn't have much plot going on, and I do prefer some of her other books that I have read, so that is why I gave it 3 stars. But that being said, I do definitely still love this book, and I definitely will be rereading it in the future. Then I moved on to Beneath the Hood, which is the 3rd book in the Sugar Lake series, and this was another 5-star read, and every book in this series for me was 5 stars, let me just tell you now. Now, this one is about Jax, which is one of Alina's friends, and Blakely, which is somebody who he works for. So Jax works for Blakely's dad, and Blakely's quite a bit younger than him, so this is actually an age gap romance. However, again, 5 stars, absolutely amazing. There's not really much else I can say other than if you have not read the Sugar Lake series by Emily McIntyre, you need to read it. Absolutely amazing. Now, the last book that I read in the month of March was actually Reminders of Him by Colleen Hoover. Now, if you saw my previous book haul, I did buy this obviously to read and then I could watch the movie because I don't like watching a movie before reading the book. So I bought this online, and at first, when I was about halfway through, I didn't think there was much going on, so I was going to rate it 3 or 4 stars. However, when I got to about, I'm just trying to think, that much through, it definitely picked up and the plot was amazing. I rated this 5 stars in the end because it did get a lot better. However, one thing I will say about the movie is they left out some amazing quotes from the book, and they left out some really good scenes. However, I do understand that with the movie only being like an hour and a half to 2 hours, you cannot condense a whole book of that size into an hour or an hour and a half. However, some of the things that they'd put into the movie was not really relevant or important to the story, I don't think. So they definitely could have added in some more important elements from the book. But that being said, The book was still 5 stars. I had absolutely no problems with the book whatsoever. So that is my reading wrap up for the month of March. I will probably be doing it in April one soon because obviously, like I said, we are halfway through the month now. And yeah, if you liked this video, please subscribe, please like the video, and if you have read any of these books, drop down in the comments, let me know what you thought, let me know if you DNF'd them, if you finished them, what you thought of them, because I would love to know. So, like I said, that is my March reading wrap up, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye everyone!